All right, welcome back to the KFYR Plus News Desk. And the astronomer HR executive allegedly caught canoodling with CEO Andy Byron at the Coldplay concert last week appears to still have her job, even after Byron was swiftly forced to resign over that scandal. Chief People Officer Kristen Cabot is on leave but hasn't been publicly given the boot over liability concerns, and it's not so easy to dump employees just because of an ugly headline. Joining me right now is Jeremy Rosenthal, a legal expert. Mr. Rosenthal, thank you once again for your time.
Always, Jay. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. So from a legal standpoint, what makes it difficult for a company to immediately terminate an executive like Ms. Cabot, even in the face of a public scandal?
I think they could terminate her immediately if they wanted to. I think obviously what happened was gross misconduct on its face, regardless of what type of incentive package she's got. A lot of these types of executives have contracts with their employers, compensation packages, that sort of thing. You would think that that's going to violate probably any of them and all of them. There's a lot of strategic reasons why they probably want to hold on to her. The main reason they want to hold on to her is when you are the executive, the chief of HR, when you're that executive, you're really, you know where all the bodies are buried. You are the J. Edgar Hoover of that company. You have all the dirt on everybody, and you're really in a position to embarrass that company a lot. So she could do a lot of damage to this company if they're not careful.
So could she sue the company potentially if she is terminated on the grounds that would she have a case?
She can try. I don't think it's going to be a very good case. The way that you should think of sexual harassment is in two different ways. You have what you might refer to as vertical sexual harassment. Think that's somebody in the cubicle next to you who is talking inappropriately, showing inappropriate pictures, making uncomfortable jokes, and that's would lead to what's called a hostile work environment. In those instances, what happens is the company is entitled to notice to fix it, right? Because it's not fair that an employee comes and sues a company for millions and billions of dollars because the person in the cube next door is being abusive. The company has a chance to fix it. They have a chance to. They need to be put on notice, and if they ignore it at that point, then they might have a case. When you have something that is more horizontal, if you will, where you have where you have the CEO and a direct subordinate being the head of HR or people, how they label it, in those instances, I think the law recognizes that there's an element of coercion there, that it's hard to complain about the boss, or that it's more difficult in certain capacities, certain instances, because of that person. Now, sexual harassment is defined as unwanted sexual advances, pressure, things like that. So her problem is that when you look at Exhibit A, which is going to be the picture on the from the kiss cam, when you look at that, that doesn't look like somebody who is coerced. That doesn't look like somebody who is pressured. That doesn't look like somebody who was forced to be there. That's why her claim is no good. On paper, in theory, it could work. In reality, I don't think it does.
Jeremy, we've got a male CEO forced to resign immediately. We've got a female HR director. Could we see a gender biases or unequal accountability here?
I think a lot of people want to read into it, that dynamic. Again, I don't know from an employment standpoint. I don't know that that's necessarily what you're seeing. My view, which is built on cynicism and these types of things, being a lawyer, I tend to think that employers, companies like this, they act based on fear. They act based on who can hurt us the most. Well, when you look at Andy Byron, that guy is a pariah. He is a punchline. He's a joke. He's already resigned. And really, you're in a very good position legally if you're an astronomer to try to claw back some of his compensation. They're going to make against him potentially what's called a breach of fiduciary claim, meaning that when you are the CEO, you have a fiduciary duty to that company, to the shareholders, to do things and to act in their best interest. When you knowingly or are brazen enough to do something that almost certainly hurts their company's value, when you do something like that, you can be alleged to breach the fiduciary. he's not really in a position to hurt the company anymore, but she certainly is.
Mm.
That's why I think you're seeing the different treatment. I don't think it's because women get a better shake. I think it's because just she is in more of a position to really hurt this company. They're almost certainly negotiating with her some type of severance deal. They don't want to see her on Oprah. They don't want to see her on The View. They don't want her making a book deal out of this. So those are probably some of the loose ends that I think they're shoring up.
How does the fact that she's an HR exec complicate this legal matter and ethical dimension?
It makes it much more difficult for her because she can't argue that she didn't know the rules or that she didn't know any
Hmm.
better. So I think that that's a fact that really sort of turns on her. And if the company is coming after her, I think the company has an excellent argument to say, uh, we trusted you to prevent this type of environment at Astronomer, and you were taking the lead in ignoring it and running amok. You look at some of the other people who were in the booth, right? You've got the friend whose face turned 18 different colors.
Hmm.
You've got some of the other people there. Um, were they Astronomer employees? Were they executives? Who are those people? And what were their roles? And were now they may have a case. They may say, look, we got put on a poster here because of their ignorance. We just came to a Coldplay concert. We had no idea that this was going on. And then all of a sudden, how are we supposed to behave, right? So maybe there's something for those people, but I don't think for her there is, and especially there isn't anywhere to go for him.
How much of this company's response, I'm talking Astronomer here now, is it about legal liability and, I guess, versus protecting their brand?
I think legally they're going to be. I think legally they're in good shape. The corporation is. Again, they can definitely take the actions of these individuals and sort of divorce them literally and figuratively from their own culpability. Um, Now, Astronomer is a household name, whether they like it or not. For all I know, this has been a benefit to them. For all I know, their stock is up overall because they now have some infamous name brand. I don't know that any of this impugns their products. My wife never heard of them before in her life, and now she's Googling who is Astronomer and what do they do. I think they've got certainly seen more web traffic over this. Even Coldplay is probably getting downloaded even more than they did before. I think there's a lot of winners here. I just don't think it's those two people.
Yeah, I think the best joke I've seen out of it, Jeremy, so far is it's been a few years since Coldplay released new music, but last week they released two singles.
Yes,
That's
that's a
great.
good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating too to me, Jay. And you tell me this: why is America really digging into this story? And what does it say about us, about where we are culturally, politically?
Right.
That this has just hit our funny bone in a way that is hard to explain.
The reaction, I think, from Mr. Byron probably that had a lot to do with it. I think if he would have just stayed there, took his medicine, and I think the reaction that really had. So, by the way, does Mr. Byron have a case against the band Coldplay at all? Do you think?
No, I wouldn't think so at all. When you go on the tickets and when you go click on them now these days, you don't really get a ticket stub anymore. At least I don't haven't
Hmm.
seen many of those. When you go on and you click on whatever website that you're clicking on, you're clicking through 8 pages of legalese. In there are waivers that say that you're in public and that potentially you can be used in some of their media shots. Also, you have zero expectation of privacy when you're acting that way and you're behaving that way. So I think it's farcical to suggest that he's got a good case. If he, I've seen news stories floating out there that maybe he's floated, maybe he thinks he does, and I don't know how accurate that is. If he thinks he's got a case here, that probably underscores sort of this man's arrogance, which I think we've already seen on display.
Yes. Jeremy, if you're defending Kristen Cabot, what arguments would you make to protect her job or even her? Well, let's just go with her job.
Yeah. I think her legal arguments are going to be that this was coerced, that this was involuntary, that she was putting on a brave face, that when it's the CEO who is sort of doing this, that you're sort of compelled to do this. A lot of that's going to turn on things that we don't know and we don't see, at least yet, which they're probably investigating.
Mm-hmm.
Emails, communications. Have they done other things socially? Have they gone out of town together? Things that I think are fairly easy to trace, but would probably tell a bigger, more full picture.
Sure. Could a negotiated exit or settlement be the most likely outcome here for Miss Cabot?
If you're, I think that's very likely here. And I think that anytime you are asking somebody to be quiet and not disclose these types of facts publicly, you're going to have a contractual situation. So most severance agreements are exactly that. They bargain for certain periods of time, and potentially a non-compete of some sort. And that's going to be supported by what the law calls consideration. Consideration is just it's a benefit to each party. You can't make a contract that's going to say you're going to go out there and be quiet and never do anything to us. We have to give you something in return. Usually that's going to be money. Possibly it could be we're not going to sue the potatoes out of you. That can also be consideration. So there is going to be some exchange of benefit between Miss Cabot and Astronomer.
Yeah, I think we're probably toward the end of this, unless something drastic happens. I don't really see this coming back into light and in the public anymore. Do you?
Not really. I think it'll be hard to replicate this kind of a feeding frenzy. Everybody in the planet knows and recognizes. Even my 80-year-old father is showing me memes about this. Not speaking to his tech savvy, but the point is that it's hard to imagine something coming up in this case and topping it. I think we'll read a little bit more about it. Hopefully, the people involved come out better for it. Hopefully, Mr. Byron's family, his soon-to-be ex-spouse, hopefully those are going to be some of the beneficiaries of something here, not just all this negative attention.
Yeah, with all the fun that we have, you have to understand there is collateral damage to family members for both sides. I don't know if Miss Cabot has a significant other, if she's married or not, but you just got to feel bad. But Mr. Rosenthal, thank you as always for breaking down this with such clarity. This case sits at the intersection really of law, ethics, and public perception. Your insights have helped us out a lot.
Thanks, Jay. Have a great day.